Living on the Edge, Understanding Bipolarity and Finding the Anchor. The Ethics of Invincibility. Imagine a state where the laws of reality, fatigue, financial prudence, doubt, simply dissolve. The manic mind grants this temporary, terrifying sense of invincibility. Yet, is power truly power if it divorces you from wisdom, from the necessary recognition of your own vulnerability? We must ask, what ethical price does the pursuit of the limitless exact on the grounded, necessary self? Today, we explore the philosophy of knowing your limits by examining the mind that temporarily knows none. Every human fears change, but for those navigating bipolarity, change is a brutal, non-linear force. The depressive self grieves for the vibrant, hyper-capable self that was, a brilliant ghost from the past. The manic self cannot comprehend the lethargy of the future. The struggle is not just with mood, but with time itself, a fractured narrative where the past mocks the present and the future feels perpetually out of reach. Can we find an anchor when the soul is constantly time-traveling between extremes? Today, we're diving deep into a topic that is often misunderstood, sometimes romanticized, and always complex: bipolarity. It's more than just mood swings. It's living with an internal climate that shifts from a blinding summer storm to a frozen winter night, all while the world expects you to maintain a steady 72 degrees. If you, or someone you know, navigates these intense psychological waters, this video is your anchor. Let's unpack the realities of this powerful psychological state and learn how to truly handle it. Stay with us. Perhaps the facts in this video may change your life forever. The two poles, mania and depression. Bipolar disorder, formerly called manic depression, is a serious mental health condition characterized by dramatic shifts in mood, energy, and concentration. Think of your emotional life as being connected to two magnetic poles. The manic pole, the high. This isn't just happiness, it's an elevated, irritable, or expansive mood known as mania, or hypomania, a milder form. The energy is explosive, almost superhuman. Behavior: racing thoughts, impulsive decisions, spending sprees, reckless driving, little need for sleep, grandiosity, believing you possess special powers or unique talents. The psychological reality: the world feels dazzling, full of infinite possibility. The danger lies in the lack of judgment and the eventual inevitable crash. The depressive pole, the low. This is a period of overwhelming sadness and loss of interest. Behavior: profound fatigue, inability to concentrate, feelings of worthlessness, withdrawal from social life, and suicidal ideation. Nighttime laughter and sudden disorganized outbursts of laughter may occur in people with bipolar disorder during manic episodes. The person experiences feelings of happiness and activity, including laughter and other controlled behaviors that may seem inappropriate for the condition. These episodes are part of a disorder characterized by subjective personal feelings. The psychological reality. The world feels drained of color and meaning. It's a heavy, paralyzing weight, making simple tasks like showering feel impossible. The core challenge. The person isn't choosing these states. Their brain chemistry is undergoing a radical, powerful change, leaving them exhausted and destabilized by the contrast. 3 global personalities and their stories of the two poles. The public figures who have openly discussed their struggle with bipolar disorder offer profound case studies that validate and extend the contemplative philosophical arguments. They show us how the dialectic of the soul plays out on the grand stage. Number 1. Carrie Fisher, the advocate of the fractured narrative. The philosophical insight. Fisher's story perfectly embodies the philosophical choice to transform trauma into wisdom and communal truth. She refused to let her diagnosis remain a source of shame or secrecy, treating it instead as the raw material for her most brilliant, honest work. The story. Extended. Best known globally as Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher was diagnosed with bipolar I disorder in her 20s. Her life became a public, often volatile narrative of extreme highs, substance abuse used as self-medication, and crushing lows. What makes her story exceptional is that she used her platform, through her books, like Postcards from the Edge and one-woman shows, to meticulously chart the topography of her own mind. The psychological example. Fisher weaponized her vulnerability. She named her condition her black dog, a term often used by Churchill for his depression, and became a fierce mental health advocate. Her honesty destigmatized the illness for millions. Her struggle demonstrates that while the disorder can create a fractured narrative, the individual can use conscious will and self-expression to restitch that narrative into a powerful, coherent legacy. Her power came not from her acting, but from her radical self-acceptance and humor regarding. Number 2. Sir Winston Churchill, the strategist of the black dog. The philosophical insight. Churchill's experience explores the intersection of existential fitness and political action. It raises the question of whether the intensity inherent in the bipolar spectrum can, under the right conditions, become a catalyst for extraordinary world-changing achievement. The story extended. The British Prime Minister who rallied the United Kingdom during World War II openly referred to his profound depressive episodes as his black dog. While his diagnosis is retrospective, historians note his clear pattern of intense, driven work, sleepless nights, suggesting hypomania or milder mania, followed by crippling periods of melancholia and self-doubt. The psychological example. Churchill's depressive phases arguably gave him a sober realism that his more buoyant peers lacked. During 1940, when facing Nazi Germany, his realistic assessment of the existential threat, the very gravity of his lows, allowed him to recognize the required level of national effort. Conversely, his hypomanic energy allowed him to work relentlessly, giving famously inspiring speeches and driving the war effort with incredible stamina. His story is a powerful example of channeling the intensity, managing the low for clarity, and directing the high toward disciplined, productive work, proving that profound psychological struggle can exist alongside world historical success. Number 3. Vincent van Gogh, the master of the manic creative pole. The philosophical insight. Van Gogh embodies the tragic, powerful tension between creative genius and psychological instability. His life forces us to confront the romantic yet painful link often drawn between intense suffering and artistic brilliance, challenging the ethics of invincibility. The story extended. The painter, whose work is defined by explosive color and swirling dynamic energy, lived a life marked by erratic behavior, intense periods of production, poverty, interpersonal conflict, and profound despair. Although diagnosed posthumously, his letters to his brother Theo provide an excruciatingly detailed account of mood cycling, hallucinations, and self-harm, most famously, cutting off part of his ear. The psychological example. Art critics often link his most famous frenetic works, like The Starry Night, to periods of manic intensity. These were times when his energy and vision were boundless, allowing him to paint with almost supernatural speed. Yet, the price was a rapid return to the depressive void, severe mental breakdowns, and eventually, suicide. Van Gogh's story serves as a powerful, somber warning. The manic high may fuel extraordinary output, but without effective medical and psychological anchoring, as discussed in the video, that same intensity will inevitably consume the self. His art survived, but the man unable to sustain the internal war did not. Dealing with psychological cases. As content creators dealing with sensitive psychological topics, we must approach it with informed compassion. Here's a detailed, example-based framework for dealing with bipolarity, particularly when supporting someone through its extremes. Example case: supporting Alex. Imagine your friend Alex has bipolar disorder. Phase 1. Navigating mania, the crisis of excess. During a manic episode, Alex might call you at 3 a.m. with a brilliant plan to quit their stable job, invest their life savings in crypto, and travel the world on a scooter. The wrong approach: judgment. Alex, you're being crazy. Stop it and go to sleep. This only fuels resistance and paranoia. The experienced approach: grounding and safety. Safety. First, gently assess immediate risks. financial, physical. Example: that sounds exciting, Alex, but before you transfer any money, let's just make a small test budget tomorrow morning. Validate the energy, not the impulse. Acknowledge the incredible energy. Example: your mind is buzzing with ideas. That's powerful. Can we channel that energy into writing down all these amazing concepts first, before we act on them? Encourage medical compliance. Gently remind them of their coping structures. Example: I know you feel invincible, but remember what Dr. Chen said about sleep being your shield? Let's try to get 4 hours, just to lock in those ideas. Phase 2. Navigating depression, the crisis of absence. A few weeks later, Alex may be unreachable, texting only short, self-deprecating messages, convinced they are a failure. The wrong approach, tough love. Just snap out of it. Everyone has bad days. Go for a run. This invalidates their chemical reality. The experienced approach, presence and patience. Minimize demands, lower the bar. Success is simply existing. Example: you don't need to do anything, Alex. Can I come over and sit on the couch while you watch that old movie? Focus on small, achievable tasks. Break down paralyzing duties. Example: don't worry about the laundry. Let's just try to put those 2 dirty mugs in the sink. That's a huge win. Be a non-judgmental mirror. Remind them of their true self without expecting them to agree right now. Example: I know the darkness is loud right now, but I remember when you aced that presentation. That brilliant, kind Alex is still here. I'm just holding space for them until they step back into the light. Building the anchor, tools for stability. The key to long-term management of bipolarity isn't eliminating the poles, that's often impossible, but stabilizing the journey between them. Medication as foundation. For many, medications, mood stabilizers, etc., are non-negotiable. They are not a cure, but they stabilize the brain's chemistry, raising the floor of the depressive pole and lowering the ceiling of the manic pole. Therapy, CBT, DBT. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps identify triggers and dialectical behavior. Therapy is excellent for building emotional regulation skills and coping strategies. Structure and routine. Bipolar brains thrive on predictability. Maintaining consistent sleep, meal times, and work schedules acts as a critical external stabilizer. Mood charting. Tracking daily moods, sleep, and stressors helps the individual and their care team spot the subtle signs of a shift before it becomes a crisis. The question of bipolarity and the inner life has been approached by various philosophical schools, even if the condition wasn't formally named. That is a critical line of inquiry, moving from the philosophical to the scientific and practical. Bipolar disorder is a serious medical condition, and understanding its risks and management is crucial. Scientific danger factors of bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder presents severe risks due to the extremes of its mood cycles. The major danger factors are dangers of the manic-hypomanic state. The primary danger here is impaired judgment, which leads to risky behavior. Impulsivity and financial ruin. Grandiose thinking often results in reckless spending, large, ill-conceived investments, or quitting jobs, leading to significant debt or professional collapse. Recklessness and physical harm. Increased energy and reduced fear can lead to dangerous activities, such as fast driving, promiscuous sexual behavior without protection, and aggressive confrontations, resulting in injury or legal trouble. Psychosis. Severe mania can include psychotic features, delusions, hallucinations, requiring immediate hospitalization. Dangers of the depressive state. The primary danger is self-harm and withdrawal. Suicide risk. This is the most acute risk. Individuals with bipolar disorder have a significantly higher risk of suicidal ideation and attempts compared to the general population, particularly during mixed episodes, depression with manic energy racing thoughts, or immediately following a period of mania. Functional decline. Severe depression leads to job loss, social isolation, inability to perform basic self-care, hygiene, eating, and overall loss of quality of life. However, the best strategy involves prevention of episodes and building resilience, a form of functional immunity. Genetic awareness, primary prevention. Since the disorder is highly genetic, families with a history should be aware of early signs, severe mood changes in adolescence, early adulthood, and seek professional assessment immediately upon noticing symptoms. Early intervention significantly improves long-term prognosis. Lifestyle as medicine, secondary prevention. The most effective way to build immunity against severe episodes is through rigorous commitment to lifestyle discipline. Strict sleep hygiene. The single most important stabilizing factor. Maintaining a fixed, non-negotiable sleep schedule helps regulate the brain's circadian rhythm, which is often disrupted in bipolar disorder. Stress management. Stress management is one of the most important remedies in bipolar disorder cases. Steer clear of intoxicating agents. Because they powerfully destabilize emotional balance, it's crucial to refrain entirely from using illicit drugs and alcoholic beverages. Maintain your prescribed treatment schedule. Even if your symptoms seem to improve, never alter your dosage or discontinue taking your medicine unless directed by your physician. This adherence is your most vital tool for preventing a recurrence. Now, we have the philosophical perspectives on bipolarity, the warring soul. Highlight: the Stoic philosophy, finding the anchor. Stoicism offers the most direct and pragmatic toolkit for navigating the extreme volatility of bipolarity. It doesn't promise a cure, but it offers a powerful framework for internal stability regardless of chemical chaos. The Dichotomy of Control. The core of the Stoic response is radical acceptance. Mood swings, mania, depression, are viewed as powerful external events, a chemical storm in the brain, much like a physical illness or a natural disaster. They are not within the individual's direct control. The individual's only control lies in their judgment of the mood and their response to it. The practice of virtue. A manic episode might fuel destructive impulsivity. Depression might cause withdrawal from duty. Stoicism would counter this by insisting that virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance remains the sole good. The individual's task is to use their willpower, their inner citadel, to choose the virtuous action despite the overpowering mood. Example. During a manic high, the Stoic focuses on temperance to resist impulsive spending. During a depressive low, they summon courage to perform small duties, viewing the effort itself as a victory of will. Judgment, propathia. Stoics teach us to reject passion, negative, uncontrolled emotion. The bipolar experience is a perfect example of uncontrolled passion. The goal is to observe the racing thoughts or the paralyzing despair without agreeing with them or letting them dictate action. This detachment helps contain the episode's destructive potential. The Stoic opinion. The bipolar individual is a hero engaged in the most difficult philosophical struggle, fighting a battle for rational judgment against an internal biological revolt. True health is achieved when the will remains constant, even when the brain chemistry cycles wildly. Existentialism, the burden of radical freedom. Existentialism, particularly through thinkers like Sartre and Camus, views the human condition as one of overwhelming freedom and the resulting angst. View on bipolarity. The bipolar experience can be seen as an intensified version of the existential crisis. The dramatic shifts highlight the absurdity of reality and the lack of inherent meaning. The manic phase might be viewed as an attempt to create radical, total meaning, grandiosity, through intense action, while the depressive phase is the crushing realization of nihilism, the lack of inherent meaning. The response. The existentialist would urge the individual to find authenticity by consciously accepting the reality of their fractured mind. The challenge is to define one's self and one's values in spite of the mood cycles, thereby creating meaning through sheer defiant choice. The individual is responsible for their actions, even when driven by the illness. Humanism, the focus on actualization and care. The humanistic philosophy, e.g. Carl Rogers, Maslow, emphasizes the inherent worth of the individual and the drive towards self-actualization. View on bipolarity. Bipolarity is viewed as a severe barrier blocking the path to self-actualization and full potential. The intense mood swings prevent the person from achieving a state of congruence, harmony between self-image and experience. The response. The humanist approach stresses unconditional positive regard and empathy from others, recognizing that the person's core self is valuable, independent of their symptoms. Treatment should focus on creating a supportive environment where the individual feels safe enough to explore and integrate their challenging experiences, gradually bringing their erratic emotional life closer to their genuine, stable identity. Buddhism, the impermanence of the self. Buddhist philosophy, centered on the concepts of anicca, impermanence, and anatta, non-self, offers a powerful lens. View on bipolarity. The mood episodes are the ultimate demonstration of impermanence. The manic high is fleeting. The depressive low is also destined to pass. The suffering, dukkha, arises not from the mood itself, but from the attachment to the high and the aversion to the low. The response. The Buddhist path of mindfulness directly addresses the bipolar experience by training the mind to observe the thoughts and feelings, both manic and depressive, as transient, non-personal phenomena. The goal is to see the racing thoughts as merely thought phenomena and the profound sadness as merely sadness phenomena, preventing them from becoming the definition of the self. This helps dismantle the destructive identification with the extreme mood. Final thought, the power of empathy. Bipolarity demands immense courage. It's an invisible struggle, where the enemy is often within the mind's own magnificent yet volatile architecture. If you are fighting this battle, please know that your resilience is profound. If you are supporting someone through it, remember that your patience and non-judgmental presence are the most powerful stabilizers you can offer. The goal is not to stop the waves, but to learn how to sail, and we are all here to help hold the course. We desperately need more videos and episodes that explain various conditions and the scientific, medical, and social approaches to dealing with them on a broad scale, taking into account all their factors and stakeholders. However, we may discuss these issues at a later time, and we don't want you to get bored. Did this video add anything new to your knowledge? Click the like button and tell us in the comments which part of the video and which piece of information you liked and were curious about. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to Edulosophy channel for more content dedicated to understanding the human mind. Until next time, be well.